Hey guys, Professor here and welcome to another episode of Hearthstone. Today we're going to talk about our second part of our first impressions in Journey to the Ungoro, right? Basically we have a lot of new cards that released and let's take a look. The first one is Clutch Mother Zavas. Basically it's a 2 mana 2/2 Warlock legendary, and whenever you discard this, give it +2/+2 and return it to your hand. So basically you can never discard Clutch Mother Zavas, right? She only grows stronger when you discard her. So I believe I've talked about the Warlock legendary on the previous episode. I hope that the legendary will be something like you can choose what you want to discard instead of just discarding randomly, but apparently not. It's still discard related though, so there's that. However, because of how RNG based discard mechanics are, it's really difficult to, have a discard deck actually work in a very consistent manner. You know, if you keep discarding, say, cards that are supposed to help you discard cards, then you're left with cards that are like kind of just there, right? So the good thing about the Clutch Mother Zavas is that she can never be discarded, so there's that. However, I feel like discard decks are just a double-edged sword. It can work very well at times, and at other times it just falls flat. So yeah, I'm not so sure about this discard decks. I mean, with the Lakari sacrifice it's a little bit better, but other than that it's still very strange, and sometimes you kind of like, you either have a full board or you have no board at all. So there's that. So yeah, I'm hoping this works because I actually like the concept of discard lock, but apparently this might not be good enough. We'll see. Next, we have Curious Glimmer Root. It's a 3 mana 3/3 priest epic card. Battle cry, look at 3 cards. Guess which one started in your opponent's deck to get a copy of it. Like, I don't know what it means by guess which one started in your opponent's deck. Maybe it says like the first few cards they draw. If that's the case, it's really not playable. If it's like, okay, if I look at 3 cards and I say, okay, this person is playing this card in his deck, and then I'm gonna get I get a copy of it, then it's a little bit better, right? Otherwise it's kind of like unplayable, right? Because if it's like the starting hand, then starting hands are usually small drops and you really don't want to copy those cards at turn 3. And if it's the latter, where you get to copy a person the card from his deck, then well, that is the only card that is sort of playable per se, because he put it in his deck, right? If he didn't put it in his deck, then obviously it wasn't playable anyway. So yeah, so maybe if it's a latter, the choices are kind of obvious, but then again you're only more or less given one choice anyway, so why do you even bother? I'd rather you play Thought Steal if that's the case, right? So if you play Thought Steal, at least you know you just get the card without of the guessing game and whatnot. So I don't think this is worth. It's like a free. The stat line is not good enough as well. So yeah, it's just weird overall. If it was a 3 mana 3/4 with this battle cry, it would have been better. But we'll see. I don't see this card being played though. It's an epic though, so it's very strange. Next we have a Firefly. It's a 1 mana 1/2 neutral card, Elemental. Battle cry, add 1/2 elemental to your hand. So basically this is the introduction to elemental synergy. We have essentially a 2 mana 2/4, and you can buff your next turn. Basically elementals work in the sense that, oh, if you play how many elementals the previous turn, then basically what happens next turn is going to be insane, right? So it's something like future value, something like buffing your cards in your hand and to play it next turn or something like that. The thing is, it's next turn, right? You for buffing your own card, sometimes at turn 1 you buff a 5 mana card and you can't play it, but in this case it's possible that you can play it, and it's really very good, right? You can hoard your synergy cards, and then you can play your big synergy cards later, so it's pretty good. But alone it's really useless, right? Nobody wants to play a 1-2, especially when there exists one freeze, right? Like Mana Worm at your Tunnel Trog and whatnot, right? So yeah, 1-2 is like really awkward unless you have set elemental synergy. So usually I would recommend you keeping the Firefly to say mid to late game, and then you can play your big minions later on. Next, yeah, this is our Flame Elemental 1-2. Alright, next we have Flame Geyser, 2 mana, deal 2 damage, add a 1-2 elemental to your hand. So basically this is our mage spell. It's something like a 2 mana Arcane Blast, or technically a 3 mana Flame Portal, right? Basically you shoot something and you summon a 1-2 elemental. Depends on how you look at it. And yeah, once again, this card is good only when it has the elemental synergy, right? Alone, why wouldn't you play something like a Frostbolt instead, right? This is just not good enough, especially since a 1-2 is easily cleared by, say, almost anything. So yeah, Flame Geyser, decent card. Yeah, Arcane Blast. Okay, next we have Glacial Shard. It seems like a very good card at the start, right? It's the first ever 1 mana freeze an enemy other than the emergency coolant, right? I think it's really good because like freeze effects are really strong, and you don't even need to use this early game, right? You can use this late game and make it look like it's emergency coolant, and it's really good. Plus, you can use it with elemental decks, right? 1 mana activated for elementals in the next turn is really strong. Imagine playing Glacial Shard into Firefly into the Flame Elemental, and in the next turn whatever you play will be super big and super good. That's insane. And it's a neutral card, so elemental decks can span across like mage, shamans. I think these classes would benefit a lot with the elemental. And yeah, it's a good card. It's a good card. I mean, even against like Pirate Warrior, right? Sometimes you just want to freeze your enemy pirates just so that you can, you know, gain a little bit more control in the next turn. It's really very good. I like this card. It's one of the better commons out there. Next we have Hydrologist. It's a 2 mana 2/2 Paladin Murloc card. Battlecry, discover a secret. So basically, if you play it as Paladin, you definitely discover a secret that is a Paladin secret, right? Some of the good Paladin secrets are Noble Sacrifice, Redemption, Repentance. I wouldn't consider Sacred Trial or Eye for an Eye a good card. Getaway Kodo might be fine, I guess. So yeah, there are more or less only 4 Paladin secrets that are actually good, and they're kind of weak, right? They're one mana secrets anyway. So it's really strange unless there's some kind of secret synergy with Murlocs going on with Paladins. Otherwise, I don't feel like Murloc Paladins are gonna be a thing. They're kind of slow, and yeah, with the removal of everything is awesome, it's really weird. Anything can happen, right? Sorry, anything can happen. It's like it's really weird to play Murlocs as Paladin anymore. Unless you're playing Wild, then this is fine. Yeah, otherwise it's really strange, and I don't recommend playing Hydrologist as Paladin. Maybe unless the meta slows down a little bit. I don't think so. So yeah. Unless there are more Murloc cards that are coming out for Paladin, otherwise it's really weird. No, not good card. One good thing though, if you happen to get the Hydrologist on a mage, then you're pretty much gonna discover a good secret, right? The only issue I have with this is that you can discover secrets with, say, Cabal Courier, right? So still fine, I guess. Maybe it's playable. We'll see. Now, next is one of the most OP cards to release in this expansion is Kalimos Primal Lord, 8 mana 7/7 Shaman Legendary. Battlecry, if you played an elemental last turn, cast an invocation, right? So, unfortunately for this, you don't need to stack elementals before playing this card. All you need to do is just play one, right? No matter how many you stack, you can only cast one elemental invocation. This is important because some people might think, oh, I casted 4 elementals last turn, so maybe I can use all 4 invocations, right? No, that's not how it works. So basically, this is something like Adapt on steroids, or you might call it like something like the Kazakas. It's a very, very powerful card, and it's definitely making elemental control shaman very viable. I do welcome control shaman because I feel like going face shaman is really, really annoying, and I don't like it. This is something that's moving shamans into the late game instead of the early game. So yeah, we have seen some of the late game shamans before, and they are pretty interesting, right? They're powerful, and aside from the Jade Golems, I think control shamans have been interesting, and I hope that this pushes them into the interesting part of Hearthstone instead of just amigo face kind of Hearthstone, right? So yeah, these are our invocations. Invocation of water, restore 12 health. Invocation of earth, fill your board with 1/1 elementals. I don't know why you want to do that, other than maybe try and play more elemental based stuff in the future, right? If you fill your board with 7 1/1 elementals, the next turn is going to be insane if you have something that stacks elementals. So yeah, invocation of air, deal free damage to all enemy minions. It's basically like a lightning storm without the overload. And invocation of fire, deal 6 smorg face, right? But usually in a control, you don't really want to smorg face unless the person has, like, say what, 6 HP, then you just gotta do it, right? So yeah, these are all really viable options, and it's just insane. I like all 4. It's so versatile. It's insane. Next we have Mimic Pod. It's a free mana rogue card. Draw a card and add a copy of it in your hand. So basically it's a mini SLT, right? So you draw a card or you can call it a mini Chromagus, whatever you want to think of it, because Chromagus is rotating out of standard also. So something like that. It's a free mana to draw 2 cards of the same thing, and it's a possible synergy with Miracle Rogue, right? Because you can copy things like the counterfeit coin or preparation, and then you can continue to miracle your stuff, right? So this might seem like a good card. It might be playable considering there are other options that have been rotated out, like the thank you guy. The name eludes me, but yeah, I think Mimic Pod will see a lot of different unique uses in Miracle Rogues, in Rogue in general. So we'll have to wait and see about that. Yep, coffee coin, preparation. Now, Osric is a 9 mana neutral legendary. It has Taunt and Battle Cry gain plus 5 health for each elemental you played last turn. So basically, if you had the invocation for this, right, invocation of Earth, you have 7. Considering you have, like, okay, you can only have 6, right, because you played Kalamos. So you played 6 1/1 elementals, and then you play this card, Osric. So 6 times 5 is 30. 30 plus 5 is 35. It's a 9 mana 5/35 taunt. How are you gonna get past that, right? 35 health on a minion is more than your face health. That is crazy nutballs. Obviously, I'm talking about something that is rarely gonna happen, because like usually your board would not have so much space, right? But it is something that deserves to be talked about, right? Even if you have played Firefly, and then you play your Glacial Shard, and then you just suddenly Osric becomes a what? Firefly plus Flame Elemental plus Glacial Shroud. It's 3 elementals. 3 times 5, 15. 15 plus 5, 20. So it's a 9 mana 5/20 with Taunt. That is insane. Insane. And it's a 5 attack minion, so it cannot be BGH'd. Obviously, it can be Black Knighted, or it can be like, you know, Shadowwood Death, or maybe executed or assassinated, all that stuff, right? But these cards are so few and far between nowadays that it still makes Osric a really strong legendary, especially if you're playing something like a elemental deck, right? It's so strong if you hoard your elementals. Unfortunately, sometimes you really don't have the chance to hoard your elementals, especially when somebody is playing really aggressively, and then you need to, like, you know, play minions on the board to try and react to them. So unless, like I said, unless the meta slows down, Osric might not be good enough, right? It's really way too slow. Like, if you die in turn 5, why would you have a 9 mana card in your deck in the first place, right? And by the time you are at turn 9 or turn 10, you're kind of like, I'm pretty much already won the game. Unless it's a control mirror matchup, right? Then that's a different story altogether. But it's not a control mirror matchup. I would consider elementals. It's more of a tempo deck for elementals instead of a control. But definitely, this is useful, especially useful in arena, right? But I'm not so sure if Osric can be used in the current meta. Obviously, if the meta shifts to a later game, then Osric is really good. Next, we have Primal Finn Lookout. It's a 3 mana 3/3 Murloc battle cry. If you control another Murloc, discover a Murloc. So basically, it's our Murloc Knight, right? The new Murloc Knight. Instead of Inspire, you just discover one Murloc, and that's pretty much it. The keyword is discover, right? So you're not gonna get useless Murlocs. You're gonna be able to choose the best Murlocs out of the 3, and you don't even need to choose out of the Tiny Finn, because Tiny Finn is rotated out. So I'm gonna get something good. Maybe Bluegill is good. Maybe some of the newer Murlocs. Mega Finn could be a thing, right? You can discover a Mega Finn, probably. I'm not sure, because Mega Finn is something that is that's a reward from a quest, right? So maybe they're not gonna allow you to discover Mega Finn, but something else, right? Some other good Murlocs are pretty much gonna be printed. Even Finja, right? If you discover Finja, that's a really good already. So yeah, I think Murloc decks are maybe making a comeback. A lot of people have been like experimenting with Murlocs all the time, and they're kind of disappointed that Murlocs are not getting the love that they deserve. And with minions like Gentle Megasaur, I think Murloc decks are really making a comeback. Like, adapt all your Murlocs, you know, you flood the board with Murlocs, you adapt them with Taunt, with Divine Shield, with Poison, with +1/+1, +3 attack, all this nonsense, and it's really good, even with stealth, right? So yeah, good card. Next we have Stone Sentinel. It's a 7 mana 4/4 lull. Basically, it's a pun on the 4 mana 7/7. So now they have to switch it around with a 7 mana 4/4. But actually, it's a battle cry. If you play an elemental last turn, summon 2 free elementals with taunt. So basically, these are the ones that appear, the rock elementals. It's something like the Feral Spirits without the overload, right? It's not a spell, but yeah, you get the idea. A total of 8-10 worth of stats for 7 mana is actually really impressive. Plus, it's not just one minion, right? It's 3 minions. So people need AoE to clear it off, like Flame Strike or say Volcano, maybe something that is good to clear the board, right? Otherwise, if they can't, then they can't, right? The single target removal is not good enough against the Stone Sentinel. So yeah, I think this is an okay card, especially in an elemental control shaman, if you wanna try and block your enemies from attacking you. The thing is, it's 7 mana, right? So more or less, if you're against like a pirate warrior, you're still gonna almost be dead by then. So you can play this and then hope that, you know, the next few turns the warriors can't get past your taunts, right? So there's that. Otherwise, you might have been dead at turn 5, and then that kind of sucks, right? So definitely good in arena as well. This is insane, especially if you have elementals, right? If you don't really have elementals, then this might not be worth your while in arena. But yeah, I think arena is still rigged to give you the newer cards after the expansion, so you might be able to see more stuff like this. Next, we have the Rogue quest, the Caverns Below. It's a 1 mana legendary spell. Play 4 minions with the same name, reward Crystal Core. So what's a Crystal Core? A Crystal Core is a 5 mana spell. For the rest of your game, your minions are +5/+5. What does this mean? It means that the cards on your battlefield is +5. It's 5/5. It's not +5. Sorry, it's 5/5. The cards in your deck, the cards in your hand, all of them are 5/5. And after that, you get the buff, right? You get the you can buff it up to something else. And say Violet Teacher, if you play Violet Teacher and then play spells, the Violet apprentices are also 5/5, which is insane. I think this is a very good reward. The only problem is that the quest is really very difficult to fulfill, right? It's 4 minions with the same name. How are you supposed to do that when you can only have 2 copies of the same card in your deck, right? The answer is Mimic Pod, Thistle Tea, Shadow Stab, and Shadow Caster. All of these are supposed to help rogues play the same cards over and over again in order to, you know, get the quest done. So you really have to decide, if you're playing rogue, right? You really have to decide which minion do you want to keep copying, right? And will your opponent allow you to do that, right? If your opponent sees that, okay, you've been playing this card 3 times, time to kill it off, so you cannot you know, shadow step it or shadow cast it anymore, right? And with Brand gone, you really can't, you know, Brand shadow cast or something and, you know, just cheat, right? You can't cheat anymore. So yeah, one of the interesting things you can do with a Crystal Core is to play Weasel Tunneler, right? You can play a Weasel Tunneler that's a 5/5, and once it dies, it goes to your opponent's deck. That's a 1/1, and it really just removes one card draw in his hand. And if he plays it, you kill it, and then you can play Weasel Tunneler again, and maybe you can fulfill your quest that way. So Weasel Tunneler is actually a really interesting card now, considering that the Caverns Below exists. But yeah, I think this is one of the more OP cards in Rogue, and because of that, the quest has to be one of the hardest as well. So yeah, it's very interesting mechanic, and hopefully rogues are able to do that. I'm really not sold yet. It is possible, especially since we had the combo card last expansion that, you know, purposefully pushed one of your minions back into your hand. Maybe now it makes sense, right? Now it makes sense. So yeah, I think it's interesting. Next, we have our 4 mana 3/5 Solarstone Shaper, right? It's battle cry. If you played an elemental last turn, gain taunt and divine shield. So rip Senjin Seal Master, because divine shield taunts are always good. It's a neutral card. Play your elementals and then you play Solarstone Shaper, and you pretty much set for at least 2 to 3 turns, right? Because your opponent has to destroy this either using Shadowwood Pain or something that you know, deal, like, it's a single target removal, right? It's a little bit difficult with the other classes, especially with Execute. Really strange because of the divine shield, right? Usually, like things like Deadly Shot, if it misses, it misses. Assassinate 5 mana for a 4 mana is definitely worth your while as well. So I think Toville Stone Shaper is very good. And yeah, it's something like a Annoyer Tron, something like a Sunwalker, but it's in the middle, right? And I like this card. Unfortunately, it's only playable in elemental decks, but I'm not complaining. I I think that elemental decks are going to be one of the strongest decks in Journey to the Emperor. So yeah. Next, we have Toville Warden. It's a 5 mana 3/5 hunter card. Battle cry, draw 2 1-cost minions from your deck. Now, it's finally, other than, you know, Starving Buzzard, we finally have a hunter card draw. The only problem I have with Toville Warden is that it is very strange. It costs 5 mana. Sure, the stat line is justifiable. However, it's like, why are you drawing one drops at turn 5, right? It's so strange. And what are you gonna do with your 1 drops later on? It's very weird, because usually as a hunter you kind of want to, like, you know, go face. So it's kind of awkward, unless of course we haven't seen the good 1 drops from hunter, right? Then maybe it's justifiable for but right now it's kind of strange, because at turn 5 you draw 2 1 drops. It's kind of late, and when you rush when you drop your 1 drops later on, it's like it just dies immediately, right? Or if you think about it in another way, if you play this card and you draw your 1 drops, then later on, if you're trying to draw good cards, you can draw good cards later on, right? So maybe there's that, right? This is the tutoring effect, right? You're tutoring all your 1 drops away, so that in future draws you can draw something good. So maybe there's that as well, right? It makes sense that way. So yeah, I think this card is okay. It might have its uses, but we really don't know until we see more of the hunter cards. Next, we have Unite the Murlocs. Basically, it's a 1 mana. It's our shaman quest, right? So the quest is to summon 10 Murlocs. That is insane. That is a little bit too hard. I don't know if the reward justifies it. The reward is a 5 mana 8/8 Mega Finn. It doesn't even have charge. It's a Neptulon. Fill your hand with random Murlocs. Fill your hand, meaning you get 10. You get Murlocs until you have 10 cards. So I'm not sure if it's good, because you might, in the event where you only have like a few mana left or no mana at all, and you have like 10 cards and you're gonna burn your future cards, it's kind of weird in that sense. However, it does work. This quest does work with calling the finishers, right? Because it says summon, it doesn't mean play, meaning you can call on the finishers, or you can play Finja and you can do that. It's pretty good, and it's very strong, especially if you have a gentle Megasaur, right? Like I said earlier, it's gonna make things really interesting, because Murlocs are getting stronger and stronger, especially in this expansion, and I'm really interested in seeing how this works. However, this is very strange to me, since that now we don't really know if Blizzard wants us to play Elemental Shaman or Murloc Shaman, or they're just giving us an option to play either one. It's kind of it's good in that sense, because we now know that Blizzard is actually encouraging different meta decks instead of just one meta deck like Pirate Warrior, Jade Shaman, that kind of thing. So it's good in that sense, but it's also like, we don't know which one is good, so we're gonna have to experiment with both, and we'll have to see. I am actually still leaning towards Murloc Shaman more than Elemental Shaman in this sense. So the Shaman Legendary is still not that good, not as good as say Mega Finn. We'll see. Next, so this is all I have so far. I will come back with more card reviews later on. Once again, as you have seen, there's a lot of taunts. Taunts are everywhere, so definitely, like I said earlier in the previous episode, Black Knight is going to be a very good tech in all of the new decks right now. Elemental decks from Mage and Shaman look really strong and powerful, right? And especially Osric. Osric is like insane, especially if you play in something like a control. Other than that, it's kind of still kind of awkward. I'm still waiting for more elemental synergies right now. Currently we only have a few, and it's while they seem powerful, they are also very situational, so we'll have to see. Next, we're also looking at Murloc decks, right? And Murloc decks are looking more and more strong, and it's definitely much better than the previous iterations of Blizzard trying to push Murlocs into the picture. The last few attempts have been really haphazard and not so good. In the end, only Paladins were able to play Murlocs. Now it's more possible. I'm still not really sold yet, because most of the time people still want to just play Murloc War Leader and into Bluegill. and that's pretty much it, right? Why would you play any other Murlocs other than those two? So yeah, we really have to see if more Murlocs are produced that are of good quality, that can actually push Murloc decks in a very good direction. And finally, I think that the rogue quests offers one of the most insane values so far. It's something like a Mist Caller, but much better, right? You just need to play 4 copies of the same minion. Also, you just use your Shadow Step, your Thistle Tea, your Mimic Pod, and when you get what you need, it's really good. I think that once the rogue completes the quest, you're kind of screwed, right? You can't do anything. Like, every single minion is 5/5. How are you gonna deal with that? Like, no amount of AoE is gonna be able to clear that at all. It's something like the Nether Portal, but even better. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you so far. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.